Hey, are you having fun? This is great. You guys are doing terrific, doing your practices every day. Now we're going to do the last technique that I thought to teach you, and that is the spider web. You're going to use this to turn almost any design into a boy design or a fantastic Halloween design. So get your brushes loaded. I'm going to use white for my spider web and load your brushes while I change camera angles. I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. I'm moving and manipulating. Wow, wasn't that fun and dizzy? All right, here's the spider webs. It can be done with straight teardrops. It can be done with curved teardrops. If you're doing Spider-Man, for instance, or just a Spider-Man themed eye, you do a teardrop and curve it thin, and then you do a shorter teardrop, do it thin, then you do an even shorter teardrop, do it thin. You need at least 3 teardrops to make this look like a spider web. Here's a 4th, here's a 5th, that's just icing on the cake. And you want to try to get all of these tips pointing to an imaginary spot, such as if this is the person's eye, you're either aiming for the corner of the eye or the center of your eye. So all of your lines will curve and will come to a halt, but at imaginary line, we keep going straight to the center spot where all the teardrops are going to curve to. Now that you have your teardrops in place, do you remember how you did the double teardrop by connecting? Using just the very tippy toe edge of your brush, do a very thin line, slightly curving from the big end of the drop to the small end of the drop, and then you just keep doing some random U's until the line gets smaller and smaller. And then you continue to the next teardrop. And then you go to the next teardrop. And then the next. That's how you do spider webs. Another way that I've seen to do spider webs if you're doing sugar skulls, people often do spider webs on the chin. So they start with a straight teardrop, and then they have curved on the sides. You could go thin, looping thin, and you do your spider web one row at a time. To make it look more realistic, some spider webs have a double line going across in different random places, like that. Now, if this was on the top of a sugar skull, you'd have a teardrop going from down to up. This would be on the forehead. You want 5 to 7 teardrops, all going up to the vanishing point. And you don't want to start at the very tip of the teardrop. You want to go to where it just starts to narrow, and then loop it to the top of the neighboring teardrop. And again, you could do a pair of teardrops at a time, or you can just loop your way around. But this looks better than just doing the continuous U over and over. They don't have to connect perfectly. That also makes it look like a more realistic spider web. If you were painting, so here's the corner of the eye, here's the chin, here's the forehead. I'm going to get a little more paint on my brush. Starting to get a little dry and sticky. doing it from the cheeks. Oh, I've got to get my tip back. I'm rolling it and pulling it on the way. There we go. We're ready. The cheekbone goes like this and meets up with a row of teeth. Okay, and there's the nostrils. You could do your spider webs going from thick to thin up into the jawline like this, and then make that connecting line. The slight bend in the web will always curve towards the vanishing point. So if you get confused, I'm going to move this over. My cat wants to be let in, but he can wait a minute. She ran out, she can wait. All right. So you have yourself a teardrop. You have yourself another teardrop. And then you're trying to start your spider web and you curve it out. And you go, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. So you add another teardrop and you do it again. And you realize that does not look like a spider. Looks like a fly. You got a fly. So if you remember that all teardrops have a point going to an imaginary vanishing point, even though it may never reach or touch that vanishing point, after you pick up the brush from its tippy-toe dance, you continue that imaginary line, it should hit right there at that imaginary vanishing point. And there it is again. Your line curves towards, your connecting line curves in towards that vanishing point. If you're sciencey, think of that vanishing point as a black hole exerting gravitational force, bending the line. Of course, that's too technical than we really need. I like to invent stories as I paint and create. The stories kind of help me remember how to make things and do things. Have fun doing your next 20 minutes of web practice. I'll see you at the next tutorial. Goodbye.